Hello my mates, today we will be reading the sequel to the Strange Book, Chapter 1. Our story begins with the small town of Thundertree. It is a small town part of a local capital city. They are set up by dark forests that attract strange and evil creatures that the town citizens often have to defend against. After a not too successful bank heist, the heroic Filbert came in search of a dark bunny that has great power that he saw at the finale of the heist. After the heist, Filbert and his buddy Hammy had to lay low, so they traveled to Thundertree, where Hammy made a name for himself while Filbert decided to live into the druid lifestyle, both to help him remember the way of life he had when he was younger and to make himself more powerful with druid magic. After a few weeks of living on the land, Filbert started his quest for the Dark Bunny. He went into a pet store and was told of a man who may be able to help him, who was in the local bar. As Filbert entered the bar, he saw a dark figure taking a drink at the bar. As he approached him, he leaned against a nearby wall and greeted the dark fellow. The man then took out his dagger and dropped it on the floor after attempting to throw it. Filbert, feeling more awkward, asked who the man was again and if he could help him. The man tried again, but this time accidentally threw it backwards into another man's shoulder. Chaos then would emerge from the bar as both Filbert and the mysterious figure are being questioned by this man. The man accused both of throwing the dagger, and after bickering between the three, the mysterious figure boldly asked for his dagger back from the man, somehow without giving away the fact he did it, and blamed it on Filbert. As they talked, eventually the man gave up and walked away. Now, with a bad introduction and close call, the man introduces himself as Hein Calrissian and agrees to help Filbert for a small price. Before the two left the bar, they were greeted by Hammy, the happy yet secretly evil bard. When they got to the bar, they saw that the skies were blackened and the air was cold. Town citizens were running around yelling about an incoming attack. The three then went over to the conflict and saw that skeletons and dark figures were invading the town and killing the guards who defended the town's borders. Filbert fought from afar using spells and sniped the evil undead warriors, while Hammy and Hein fought up close and personal. After vigorous combat, Hein eventually was knocked out, leaving Filbert and Hammy for fight. Hammy then grabbed Hein and they went off to support another group of civilians fight. Filbert was knocked out during the fight, but in the end both him and Hein were able to be carried to safety by Hammy. Their wounds treated and back on their feet, Filbert and Hein wake up at a medical center where they were cared for by a nurse who worked there. Hein then felt anger toward the nurse and tried to attack her with his rapier. Filbert saw this and took it away from him. Being kind, she offered the two a glass of water, and Filbert drank and enjoyed the glass, but Hein devoured the water with the glass used to hold it. He then dropped to the floor with his mouth and gums covered in cuts and bleeding profusely. He then awoke tied up and all of his weapons taken. After a wild goose chase to get his weapons back from the medical facility and Filbert, they see a large crowd around knights on horses and hear murmur, and then the knight shouts, "Hear ye, hear ye." The knight then said, "The capital has decided to leave you all for dead and to cease their support. Good luck and see you all in the afterlife." Filbert tried to keep the knights in the town by setting up an illusion of a wall, but nobody was stupid enough to fall for it. Filbert was sticking out of the crowd as he was the only one not in a panic. The mayor then asked for the adventurers to join him in his office to do him a favor. They were to meet him in the afternoon, so they went to kill some time at the local shop, but an enchanted dagger would grab their attention and they went all around town to gather funds for the dagger. Along the way, Filbert met his old pal Aragon and got a book about the dark bunnies. When they finally got the funds for the dagger from the mayor, it was gone and they were told a strange fellow bought it just a few minutes ago, and they went after him. The group left the building, and with Filbert's godlike eyesight he spotted who he presumed to be the figure and went after him, and the rest of the group followed. They were in front of a rundown building with a metal door. Filbert, after seeing no other way of entry, he went up to the front door. After needing a password and being denied, Hein tried and failed, not as badly but almost so. This went on as Aragon, Filbert, and Hayne all tried many different strategies. Filbert even went as far to disguise himself as a woman. They eventually got him due to pure annoyance and saw their friend Hammy, who has been running a secret gang underground. Hayne joined and had an initiation quest but failed and joined anyway. Filbert seemed to be more against the idea, and Aragon stayed neutral. As Hayne was busy, Aragon went home and Filbert went to see the mayor. Filbert went to meet the mayor and was offered 3 side jobs. With this information he went to find Hayne. After he told him about it, they both agreed to settle it in the morning and went to their places to rest. The next day Hayne got some more information about the caravan job and brought up the idea to Hammy, but instead of delivering the package they would steal it. Hammy refused because the caravan only really had food. Hammy agreed to do the job for the payment provided, however, and they were off to get Filbert for the final member of the job. They found him at the local pub, and when the idea was presented to him he proposed that the payment was 50-50. Hayne disagreed and wanted it to be 55-45. After some painful conversation they agreed on 50-50 and were off to do the job. Filbert, Hayne, and Hammy were off to a local fort to deliver supplies. After a few hours of traveling the sky grew dark and they set up a camp. They had Hayne set up a night shift but he fell asleep during it. They wake up the next day and keep traveling. Filbert notices that Hammy looks a little off but assumes that it is nothing as he just looks tired to him. An hour passes and Hammy is now gone. As he gets out to look for him he then feels a sharp pain and looks over and sees that Hammy is stabbing him. After knocking them out it was revealed that Hammy was actually a doppelganger and the actual Hammy was behind them. They decided to not go back and continue their mission. As they set up camp again, Filbert set up a guard post for the night and fell asleep like Hayne. They awaken again and worried that another doppelganger might be among them. After seeing that that didn't happen, they continued and eventually reached the fort. After traveling and losing a dear comrade, the group Filbert and Hayne went on to the fort to deliver the caravan of supplies. When they approached the castle they saw a knight who seemed to be a bit worse for wear. After explaining to him they were delivering a caravan, he gave a sigh of relief and opened the gates. They saw soldiers barely holding on and dying around them. They were then led into the general's office with the man who met himself introducing himself as the leader of the fort. After some talking they saw a foot soldier sprint into the room and stopped to catch his breath. He managed to finally speak and told the general about a monster that appeared. This one was different as it appeared during the day and it had no weakness to light. They ran outside the building to see all the soldiers in peril and readying for battle. The forest shakes as a giant dragon with gaping teeth stomped towards the castle. The knights of the forts did a full charge at the dragon as it moved them down. Filbert sprinted towards the dragon as Hayne stayed more back. Filbert would try to get the dragon away from the fort by attacking and angering it. The general of the fort gathered his men and managed to create an archer force that fired at the dragon. After Filbert saw little success with this strategy, the dragon ran into a wall of the fort and collapsed it completely. Filbert would then try to use suggestion to get the dragon to follow him instead. The dragon then went after Filbert, not because Filbert succeeded, but the dragon didn't seem to like him too much. Filbert would get beaten a lot by the dragon and the only thing that kept him up was his summoned healing spirit. After a while he suddenly felt his injuries fade away partially and a hand on his shoulder and heard Hammy's voice, although he could not see him due to him being invisible. The gang reunited would keep fighting the dragon. Filbert then prepared a powerful blast and shot it towards the dragon and suddenly its tail flew off. The dragon was more determined than ever to kill Filbert and grabbed him with its chest teeth, and just as it was about to crunch down on Filbert, Hayne killed it. With the monster defeated, the group has a proper reunion. Hammy was glad that Hayne killed the dragon when he did, but Filbert insisted that he had the situation under control. They then went over to the general, who gave them a nice signature to bring back to the mayor as proof of the job's completion. Tired and recovering from their wounds, the group traveled by caravan back to the city with no problems whatsoever. After that, they were off to the capital. Aragon and Filbert were focused on books about the evil bunny, lanterns, and rope, while Hayne waited for them to gather the supplies. The group then went over to a local bar to get information about a bridge they would need to cross from an old drunk. After that, they went over to Hammy's lair and Filbert asked him to come with them and he agreed. With the group together and their supplies gathered, they were off to the capital to try to convince their leaders to support the town they have grown so attached to.